Hey, check 1, 2. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, check 1, 2. All right. Let's see, how are we? Let's go a little bit lower. A little bit closer, actually. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in. So we've been working through the hips. We've done 3 of the 4 quadrants of the hips. We did the buttock muscles / hamstrings. We did the adductors, the inner thighs, and we've done the outer hips, the abductors, excuse me. Today, we'll be doing the hip flexors. And when we develop body awareness, the way that we develop body awareness is by targeting a certain area of our body with our attention. So we place our attention on a certain area of our body, and over again, we keep placing our attention there. And over time, from placing our attention and trying to feel the sensations in that area, and especially in the muscular system, trying to activate the muscles and then receive the information back from the muscle saying, I am active and this is what I'm doing. If we can actually think about an action and then the body produces it, that's really proprioception, body awareness. So what we've done so far, and I know from your feedback, everybody, that you've been feeling it in the 3 of the 4 quadrants of the hips. You've felt the muscles activate, and ultimately you felt a different sensational experience in your practice. So we'll continue on today with the hip flexors. And just a reminder of our theme this month, the breakthrough, or anugraha, which means revelation. Revelations require that we do the effort. So remember, the revelation is that opening. It's the final moment. It is the result of the process of all the effort, of all the challenges that you face, of all the times you focus your energy on one thing. Eventually it opens up. So it's the pathway, the neurological pathways, and from thought to brain down to nervous system to muscular system, doesn't happen in an instant unless it's already a part of your process. So if you already have that body awareness, then it's not a revelation to become aware of it. But if you don't have the body awareness yet, meaning you don't have the access, or at least the full access, to thought, to action in the physical body, to sensational experience, then the revelation will be that moment, the culmination of all your effort of placing your attention on that area of the body. So that's my intention, is to offer you a focus today of the hip flexors, to become aware of the sensations of activating your hip flexors. Now, activation of a muscle is so important. It's one thing to stretch it, and we will do that. But it's another thing, because stretching is actually non-action. It's not, you can stretch without being aware of the area of the body. You might get a stretch sensation because the body is telling you that this is dangerous. If you keep going, then you will get injured. That's what a stretch sensation is. It's like, hey, I'm getting elongated here. Are you aware of this? Wake up, make sure you don't go any further. This is intense. Okay, so the body communicates to the mind in this way, and hopefully the mind listens. That's wonderful. That's one side of the equation. But the other side of the equation, and the imperative side of the equation, because the stretch reflex happens almost for almost all human beings. That's there already, even if we're not aware of that area of the body. There's that stimulation of stretch is kind of already in existence, so that we don't hurt ourselves. But what is not necessarily programmed is the ability to take action in the physical body. Maybe it was when we were a child and we had thought and the body moved, but over time as adults, we lose our ability to be aware of this physical body. And maybe it happens when our body changes. Maybe it's because we focus so much on things that require our mental attention that we didn't place that mental attention on our physical body. Perhaps it was raising kids, perhaps it's the job that you have, or the college degree that you were getting, or whatever it might be. Your attention was everything outside of your physical form, and therefore the attention was not on the physical body for a given period of time. We all have this, no matter who you are, no matter how physically fit you are. There are areas of your body that you're not awake to. Myself included, we all have them. And so the process of yoga, the breakthrough, is really about seeking out those areas that we are not awake in and waking them up. Okay, that is what breakthrough is all about. That's what the revelation is all about. Seeking the areas that we are not awake to, placing our attention there and waking them up. And now the reason why most people don't move in this direction is because seeking what we are not good at, seeking what we don't have awareness of, seeking the thing, our blind spots, seeking the stuff that makes us not feel good enough is not necessarily fun unless you are used to this process and you understand that the process is really not about the seeing what you don't have awareness of, but waking it up. If you recognize that mindset, that the purpose of seeking these things is not to make yourself feel bad, but actually to give yourself an opportunity to expand, to grow, to wake up, to become more aware of. Now, we do this all the time in the physical body where we don't want to see our blind spots. We do it in the mind. We don't want to see our blind spots. When somebody else wakes us up, we don't want to hear about it. We argue it. We refute to it. We say, no, you're wrong. I'm right. This is my experience. Rather than looking inside and asking ourselves, am I the one that's asleep? Is there something here that I have not woke up to yet? And then from that perspective, you can go inward and you can say, let me see my blind spots. Let me see the areas that I'm not awake yet. And that's vulnerable. It really feels vulnerable. It takes a tremendous amount of courage, whether it's in the body or in the mind. For most people, more in the mind than in the body. So the body is a great place to start developing that process and awakening to the experience of concealment and revelation. Okay, so concealment and revelation, those are the two of 5 actions that consciousness has and plays out within us, that we are blinded, we do not see, we forget, we're not able to, we don't have access to. That's the concealment. And then the revelation is the waking up, the becoming aware of, the moment where everything all finally comes together. Okay, so while we love the revelation, we have to be, if we want a revelation, if we want a breakthrough, we have to be willing to experience the concealment. That's just nature. And if we don't want to deal with that, then we don't get the breakthroughs. So you could have that middle ground where everything is kind of chill and numb and you don't necessarily feel the highs and lows of life. Or you can learn how to embrace, and this is something I got from a neuroscience study. I wish I could remember it right now, but the adult mind has to embrace challenge, and it has to actually create a reward system from dopamine, which is that reward chemical inside of us that is released when we feel like we've done a good job. So we have to create a reward system around challenge in order to create new neurological patterning from thought to action in our physical form, and also thought to behavior in our mental and emotional body. So essentially, we have to cultivate a mindset that embraces challenge, that actually enjoys the challenge, and then we learn faster as adults. Because that dopamine reward is so important to our learning process. So we have to reward ourselves, recognizing that the concealment phase, oftentimes when we see the things that we're asleep to or are not awake to yet, that holds us back from ultimately, if we don't want to see it, then it holds us back from the breakthrough, from the opening, from the revelation. All right, so let's get into the hip flexors today. Start on all fours, hands and knees, and find your hands on the ground, grip the earth, get connected to your forearm muscles. And inhale, arch the back, look up. Exhale, round the spine, gaze towards your navel. Inhale, arch and look up. Exhale. And then round. Inhale, arch, and look up. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch, and look up. Exhale and round. All right, so now on the inhale, take your right heel to the sky. Inhale, arch, look up. As you exhale, bring your knee to touch your chest first, then round your back and separate your shoulder blades and pull the knee as tight as you can. Breathe in here, breathe into your back, and breathe out. Inhale, reach back and up, arch, and release right knee to the ground. Inhale, left leg up to the sky, lift the heart, back bend. Exhale, round your back a little bit, place the knee on the chest. Now round your back a lot and pull the knee all the way into your body as much as you can. Hold, hold, hold. And now inhale, arch, left leg goes up. Exhale, release. Okay, now with the breath, inhale, right leg back and up, arch. Exhale, knee to chest, round. Right knee down, inhale, arch the back. Exhale, round the spine. Left side, inhale, arch, left leg goes up. Exhale, knee to chest and round. Knee down, inhale, arch the spine. Exhale, round. Right leg up and back, inhale. Exhale, knee to chest and round. Try to touch your knee to your chest. Inhale, back and up. Oops, sorry, and release. Well, we'll do that on the left side. Inhale, back and up. Exhale, knee to chest. Inhale, back and up. Exhale, release. Right side, we'll just continue that. Inhale, right leg back and up. Exhale, knee to chest. Inhale, back and up. Exhale, release. Left side, backing up. Arch. Exhale, knee to chest, round. Inhale, backing up. Exhale, release. Now pause. Walk your hands further out in front. Find your fingers, grip the ground. Arch your back into anterior tilt of the pelvis. So your low back in an arch position. Now, I'd like you to push your knees apart like we worked on last class. So you feel your outer hips engage. Now, we talked about one of the hip flexors last time called the TFL, tensor fascia lata, which is an abductor. It's what pushes your knees apart, but it's also a hip flexor. It's what's creating this anterior tilt, the arc of your back. Whenever your thigh, your front of your thigh and the front of your pelvis come closer together, that's hip flexion. So your hip flexors do that. If you push your knees out here and you anterior tilt your pelvis, you bring your front of your pelvis closer to the front of your thigh. That's going to activate TFL. Keep TFL activated as you come up to downward facing dog, trying to keep your front of your pelvis on the front of your thighs. It gets harder and harder as you push back and up, because as you start to straighten your legs, the hamstrings will inevitably pull you out of hip flexion. And that's okay, but you want to make sure you try to keep your hip flexors activated. And the way you do that to start is by pressing your heels out and trying to stick your bum to the sky, okay? That's activating TFL, tensor fascia lata. Okay, that's going to help you activate that hip flexor. There are more hip flexors, but we're starting with what we're familiar with from last time. Let's take a full breath in. Exhale it out. Inhale forward to plank pose, round the back. Exhale, knees down, child's pose, hips to heels. Inhale forward, all fours, arch the back and look up. Exhale, hips up and back, down dog. Try to keep the front of your pelvis and the front of your thighs close together. Inhale, plank pose. Fingers grip the ground. Exhale, knees down, child's pose. Inhale, all fours, hands and knees, tuck the toes and arch the back. Exhale, hips up and back, down dog. Right leg to the sky, inhale. Bend the knee, open up the hip, and you can stretch the right hip flexors. Take a full breath into the right side. Straighten the leg on the inhale, square the hip. Step right foot forward. Now, for many of you, this is going to be helpful to have 2 blocks underneath your hands right now. Or if you have strong fingers, you could put your fingertips on the ground, but you're going to want to have your hands elevated. So if you have 2 blocks, put your hands on blocks. Otherwise, fingertips will do, making sure that you really have a strong foundation with the thumbs. So what we'll try to do now is from this position, pull your, lift your heel up. So you're on like a on point, I guess. I was going to say on a high heel. And now try to keep the heel as high as it is above the ground. And now flex your foot until your foot comes off the ground. And hold. And then release. Now, I'm going to show you from another angle just in case you couldn't see that in the camera. Okay, so you can pause for a second. You lift the heel up like this. I'm going to show you with a block underneath the heel just so you can see that I don't touch the block. Let me just make sure. Then I lift the foot up and then release, okay? Now what's creating that lift, keeping the leg off the ground, is my hip flexors. Of course, one of those hip flexors is my psoas. It's the iliopsoas. There's a muscle that attaches to the femur, 2 of them actually, and pull the thigh close to the chest. Okay, that's how you activate the iliopsoas, both which is the psoas major and the iliacus. Okay, so step back to down dog. We're going to try that on the other side. I know you're very excited, but first come forward to plank pose. Inhale. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale forward, all fours, arch and look up. Tuck toes, exhale into downward facing dog. Left leg to the sky, inhale. Bend the knee, open up the hip and hold. Enjoy a breath into the left side. And a breath out. Inhale, straighten the leg. Step forward as you exhale. All right, now find your 2 blocks underneath your hands or your fingertips and pause. First thing, we lift the heel up. And what you're going to do, when you lift the heel up, your thigh and your chest will come tight together. Okay, that's the point of this. Now you want to try to keep your thigh and chest together and just lift the front of the foot up. Take a breath in and release. Now, if you couldn't get it up at all, you couldn't lift the leg off, the foot off the ground, the first step is really just thinking about it and trying to make the front of the foot lighter. Okay, thinking about it is the first step to waking up into this area of the body. So if you just found out that you're not so awake in this area, welcome to the club. Step back to downward facing dog. Inhale forward to plank pose. Exhale, knees down, child's pose. Inhale forward, all fours, arch and look up. Tuck the toes, exhale, down dog. Let's take 3 breaths here. Inhale. My video is quite delayed. I'm sure yours is as well. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Let's walk the feet to the front of the yoga mat. I'm getting a double video here somewhere, so pardon me. And you can bow forward, Uttanasana. Let's enjoy a few breaths in Uttanasana. All right, bring your hands to your hips and rise all the way up to stand. I apologize, I'm not with you at the moment because I have two videos and I can't find the second one where it's playing. So I've got double me right now, which is really quite frustrating. All right, Tadasana. I'm gonna have to abandon this. I don't know where it is, but it's, sorry everyone. Wish I could find it. Okay. I don't know where it is. I'm getting double of me, but at least I know visually it's happening. Stand at the top of your yoga mat. On the next inhale, reach the arms to the sky. Exhale, bow Uttanasana, forward fold. Halfway lift on the inhale. Left foot steps back as you exhale, and you place your knee on the ground. All right, so again, we'll try to target the hip flexors by pulling the back knee towards the front heel. Right now, the back hip flexors are in a stretched position. So in this position, we're going to try to pull your back knee towards your front heel. Those of you that are in the 300-hour immersion that are in here right now, this is a balancing action, activation of the muscles that are stretching. So as you pull your back knee towards your front heel, you get some more of your hip flexors active. Yes, the psoas, also this muscle called the pectineus. It's an adductor as well as a hip flexor. So that's why I say diagonally across. Pull your back knee towards the front heel. Now keeping that, come on up. And here's the thing. Gravity is going to pull you down into this posture. Even if you're tight, gravity weighs on you because your body weighs a lot with gravity. So if you are letting gravity win, eventually the hip joint will start to lose integrity. So what you want to do, in my personal opinion, is instead of letting gravity pull you down, is actually pull yourself back up. This will increase the awareness of the area that we're working with today, the hip flexors. If you increase the ability to, instead of just sinking into stretch sensation, but to actually find muscle integrity, which means that you can activate at this length, by pulling the back knee forward, you'll feel a little lift of the hips and an activation right at the inner hip flexor region where the pelvis and the thigh meet. You should feel that active. Keep it active, not stretching, but active. Yes, it is lengthened, but you can feel the engagement of the inner groins. Then take the arms up to the sky. Hopefully you're feeling those inner thighs activated. If not, pull your back knee forward more isometrically. Try to drag it to the front foot. Then lift the belly up, lift the heart up. Exhale and release hands to the ground. Okay, pause. Now I'm going to show you how to get your hip flexors active to step back to plank pose. So watch before you do anything. The back hip flexors activate by pressing the ball mound of the back foot down. Yes, it's quads, but it's also hip flexors that lift the hips up. Now on the front leg, I try to pull my knee into the chest and then slowly unravel it into plank. Okay, take a breath in here. Exhale, knees down, lower chaturanga. Little cobras, inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, soften back down. 2 more to awaken the back muscles. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale. 1 more. And release. Inhale to all fours, hands and knees. Tuck your toes back, downward facing dog. Let's take a breath in together and a breath out. 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. 1 more. Inhale. And exhale. Let's take right leg to the sky. Inhale. Step forward as you exhale. Knee to chest and step. Okay, we'll go over that in a second, but rise up, hands to the front knee. And now let's find the same pectineus, one of those hip flexors, by pressing the ball mound of the back foot down into the ground and pull it forward towards the front foot until you feel like you're trying to drag your leg towards the front leg. If you feel that, then you'll feel your groins activate, okay? So press the ball mound of the foot down into the ground and pull it towards the front heel. Keeping that active, see if you can lift your belly and chest up. So once you lift your belly and chest up, it starts to stretch the psoas line, which is one of your hip flexors, down into the groin. So it's going to make it harder. So what you do is you put a little more effort in by pressing the ball mound of the back foot down and dragging it towards the front foot. Keeping that action, lift the arms up. Let's take a full breath in and out. 1 more breath in. Exhale, release hands to the ground. Step forward on the inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale and bow. To the sunrise, Urdhva Hastasana. To the heart as you exhale. Inhale, reach up. To the earth, bow, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Right foot steps back. Knee comes down for the first round, okay? Now again, we want to find the back pectineus muscle and the psoas and the hip flexors here. And what we do is we press the back knee down and pull it forward. As a result, you should feel your hips actually lift a little away from the ground, okay? That's going to develop your muscle integrity so that the joint doesn't deteriorate over time. As you become more flexible, you don't overdo it, okay? But also, as many of you know, it's called a facilitated stretch. So it increases muscle flexibility while keeping joint flexibility at a minimum. We don't want to increase the joint flexibility. We want to increase muscle flexibility. That's very important. You want to keep your joints stable and strong. Muscles can become more flexible, but also need to be strong. So pull your back knee forward and reach up, arms to the sky. See if when you get here, instead of sagging down with gravity, you pull your back knee forward, lift the hips up, lift the belly up, take the arms back. Exhale and release, hands to the earth. Pull your back knee up off the ground and press the ball mound of the back foot down and pull it forward in order to lift more efficiently in the front foot and step it back. Now you might be dragging and that might be really hard and you might be like, no way, that's crazy. That's also very normal. Lean forward and lower. Okay, it takes years to develop that strength of the hip flexors. And it starts with awareness. Inhale, lift the heart up. And again, it's like a body blind spot. We recognize that that might be challenging and we shed light on it. We bring light to it and release, meaning we bring awareness to it. 2 more. Inhale, lift the heart up. And exhale, release. 1 more. Inhale. And release. Push to all fours, hands and knees. I'm listening to myself, which is delayed over there. Exhale, down dog, confusing me a little bit. Okay, pause here for a few breaths. And what we want to do is recognize the experience that we're having as we get more and more awake to the sensations of our hip flexors, more and more awake to how to activate them. We want to process this experience, process what it's like to not only take action, but to feel the results of our actions. Full breath in, full breath out. Left leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward as you exhale. Okay, pause. Now, firm up the back quads. One of your hip flexors is called rectus femoris. It's actually a quadricep. So that muscle activates when you straighten the back knee
and you do hip flexion. So first, keep the back knee straight. Now press the ball mount of the back foot down. And again, pull your back foot forward, not just straight forward, but on the diagonal towards the front foot to activate pectineus. Keeping that active, you can press down into your front heel and rise up. Hold. Push down into the ball mount of the back foot and drag it forward to activate the inner hip flexors here. Lift the belly up, which is going to challenge it a little bit because it starts to stretch one of your hip flexors called psoas major. Now take the arms up. Take a full breath in. Keep pressing the ball mount of the back foot down and pull it forward. Now lift the heart up. Exhale, release hands to the earth. Step forward, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale and bow forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, rise to the sun, Urdhva Hastasana. I think I just figured out where it's coming from. Exhale, bow, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step the left foot back. Yay, I figured it out. Now, place the back knee down, pause. Pull your two knees toward each other, lift the hips up a little bit. Inhale, lift the arms up, reach up. Heart up. Exhale, release. This time, you're going to pull your feet toward each other and lift your right heel up off the ground. Take a breath in. Again, try to lift it up. And release. Take a breath in. One more time, try to lift it up. Okay, and release to down dog. Now, if you couldn't lift it up, now you understand that gravity really helps to gain flexibility. It's not necessarily body awareness that increases flexibility, but gravity and the weight of our body in that case usually is what we use to stretch our hamstrings. And what I just asked you to do is to activate your hip flexors in order to stretch your hamstrings. The hip flexors are, if we didn't have gravity, they would be what would stretch our hamstrings. So we'd only be able to stretch our hamstrings as strong as our hip flexors were. So that's where that kind of comes into play. All right, come forward to plank pose, inhale. Exhale, lower down, chaturanga. A little more back strength, inhale, lift the heart up. Lift the right leg up. Exhale, release. Inhale, lift the heart up. Lift the left leg up. Exhale, release. Inhale, lift the heart up. Lift both legs up, lift the hands up. Exhale, release. All fours, hands and knees, inhale. Tuck the toes, exhale, down dog. Right leg again up to the sky, inhale. Now pause. You're gonna bring your knee to your chest and round your back as much as you can. Try to touch your chest, lean forward, grip the ground, and then back to down dog. Left side up, inhale. Knee to chest, try to round the back, grip the ground, pull your knee to your chest, and all fours, hands and knees. Okay, so that stepping forward, which I know a lot of you find is a struggle, and or you might say like, oh, every time I put my foot forward, the whole house shakes, and or it doesn't come through gracefully. I've heard this a lot from many people, and I've experienced it in the first year or two of my practice, had the same trouble. So what is it that brings your leg forward lightly? Well, it's a combination of the hip flexors, bringing the knee in as tight as you can, including the psoas to your chest, bringing the leg as tight as you can, and rounding the upper back. Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 actions. 1, lean forward. 2, round the back. And 3, what we're focusing on today is knee to chest, pulling it in as tight as possible. You do have to lean forward and you do have to round your back in order for this to work out. So watch me one time, okay? So if I don't round my back and I don't lean forward, this is all I can go. There's no way it's going past that point. If I lean forward, or let's say if I round my back but I don't lean forward, that's as far as it's going to go. So if I lean forward, round my back, then I can get it all the way forward if I have hip flexor strength. So I suggest, you see how that's that last moment there where the leg is hovering, that you place it down. That's that strength we did earlier where you lift the leg up off the ground, okay? You start with fingertips or blocks even, is way better. And then eventually You can do it with your hands on the ground. It's a lot harder. All right, so let's try it out. Right leg, okay, inhale. Bring your knee to your chest, round the back and lean forward and step. Step back to down dog. Okay, left leg, inhale, backing up. Lean, round, and squeeze the knee to your chest and step. And step back. This time for real, inhale, right leg backing up. Lean, round, and squeeze knee into chest, step forward. Okay, now rise up, high lunge. Pause here. Again, the back foot, the ball mount, well, straighten the back knee. The ball mount of the back foot pushes down and pulls towards the front foot. That'll activate your hip flexors, in particular pectineus, when you go across the body. Okay, keeping that, lift the belly up and reach the arms up. Inhale, lift the heart a little higher. Exhale, release the hands to the ground. Okay, so now you can use 2 blocks this time. Inhale, lift the hips up to straighten both legs, lengthen forward, and pause. I suggest fingertips or 2 blocks if you have them. Flex the front foot. And now think about it. Is it possible to pull your legs toward each other, pull them toward each other, and then as you're pulling your legs toward each other, round your back and see if you can now lift the leg up off the ground and release. Okay, step forward, halfway lift, inhale. Exhale and bow. To the sunrise, Urdhva Hastasana. To the heart as you exhale. Inhale, reach up. Exhale to the earth. Halfway lift, inhale. Right foot steps back. Back knee comes down. Pull your knees toward each other. Inhale, rise up. Lift the belly up. Exhale, hands to the ground. Inhale, straighten both legs by lifting the hips. Press down into the ball mount of the back foot in order to activate the hip flexors. And pause. Lengthen the chest forward. So if I'd like to have a revelation, it means I have to be willing to see the areas of my body, areas of my life, areas of my mind that I'm not aware of yet. That's what a revelation is. That's what a breakthrough is. It's breaking through the fog. It's breaking through the unknown. It's breaking through the areas that we were not aware of and becoming aware of. So to have a revelation requires, by definition, that we are actually willing to work in the areas of our blind spots. So flex your foot, your left foot, best you can. Round the back, just like your step forward, and see if you can think about bringing your toe to your face. Whoop, and then release. Let's do a breath in. Exhale. One more, inhale. Again, round your back and pull your leg to your chest and bend the knee. Step back, down dog. Inhale forward to plank pose. Chaturanga, exhale. Inhale, lift the heart up. Exhale, release. Inhale, lift the heart up, lift the right leg up. Exhale, release. Inhale, lift the heart up, lift the left leg up. Exhale, release. Inhale, lift the heart up, lift both legs up, lift the hands up. And release. Inhale, all fours, hands and knees. Tuck your toes, exhale, down dog. Let's take a full breath in. And out. All right, left leg to the sky on the in-breath. And just practice knee to chest, lean forward, around the back, step. Okay, step back to down dog. So it's lean, round, squeeze the knee to chest, then you can step. Lean, round, squeeze the knee to the chest, and then step. Okay, so right leg, practice. Lean, round, squeeze, step. Step to down dog. And for real, let's go left side. Inhale. All right. Inhale, high lunge. And release, hands to the ground. Again, now if you want, you can use blocks or fingertips. Straighten both legs. Pull your back foot towards your front foot and flex the front foot. Now, do your best, push into your hands, around the back like you did with your step forwards, and lift the leg up off the ground. Isn't that fun? Try one more time, why not? Okay, step forward, halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, bow. Inhale, rise to the sun. And release hands to heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale to the earth, bow. Inhale, halfway lift. Step or hop back, chaturanga. Cobra or upward dog, your choice. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward, knee to chest, round. Inhale, rise up. Open up, warrior two. Inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, side angle pose. All right, spin the back foot a little bit in, back thigh and foot a little bit in, and now pull the back foot towards the front foot while keeping the inner thigh lifting. And you'll get the adductors as we worked on day one, but one of those adductors is called pectineus. And that pectineus muscle, when it engages, if you squeeze the front of your thigh towards your pubic bone, you're gonna feel pectineus in particular, and your hips will go back more like hip flexion. Okay, so keep pectineus active and press your front heel down. Slide your right hand towards the inside of the foot. Create a little bit of a back bend. Curl the top shoulder back. And reach the hand to the sky. 2 more breaths. 1 more. All right, left hand to the hip. Take your right hand outside the foot and look down at your leg. Turn the back toes in more and start to straighten through the front leg. Hold here. Pause, turn the chest a little bit, take a breath. Turn the chest a little bit more, take a breath. Turn the back hip down just a little bit and take the left hand to the sky. 2 more. Hand to the hip, bend the knee. Now, pivot the back heel up and let's see if we can do this gracefully. Pull your knee to your chest and step back to plank pose. Take a full breath in. Chaturanga. Cobra or upward dog, your choice. Exhale into down dog. Left leg to the sky. Step forward. Inhale, rise, high lunge. Open warrior two. Reverse warrior, inhale. Side angle preparation. Pause, take a breath. Spin the back toes a little bit in today and pull the ball mound of your back foot forward towards the front foot with a slight inner rotation of the thigh. So the back front of the thigh squeezes forward, activating those hip flexor and adductors in the front of the back hip. Keeping that, press your front heel down, turn the chest. Slide the left hand down to the inside of the left foot if possible. Pull the right shoulder back. Let's do a couple more breaths. Option to reach the arm up if you like. All right, right hand to the hip. And take your left hand outside the foot. Pivot the back toes in slightly. Look down with your chest and start to straighten through the left leg. Holding here. Turning the back hip down slightly towards the ground, that is. Start to turn your chest slowly towards the sidewall. Turn the chest a little bit more. And hold. Breathe. And bend the front knee. Pivot the back heel up. Again, let's do this with the most attention to detail as possible. So the goal is keep your thigh as tight to your chest for as long as you can through the step back. Take a breath in. As you exhale, knee to chest, heel to bum, plank. Take a breath in here. Chaturanga. Inhale, cobra, or up dog. And exhale, down dog. Take a full breath in. And a full breath out. All right, so last class we worked on the jump forward. And we did it with a strap around our ankles to try to help TFL, tensor fascia lata, one of the hip flexors, to activate. So what we're going to do today, something very similar, like knee to chest, and like the jump forward, but on one leg. So here's what you'll do. Take your left foot forward, let's say 1 foot, 12 inches, or however many centimeters that is. I apologize. Take the right leg up. Now you're going to try to bring the right foot, the toes, to touch your right wrist. As you exhale with a straight leg, touch, and then back. That's going to be real fun. Okay, let's do it again. Inhale, right leg. Exhale, foot tries to touch the back of the wrist and then back. Is it hard? Absolutely. Is it possible? Potentially not today, but if you keep working towards it, what's going to happen is you're going to turn on your hip flexors eventually. So right leg up and try to keep the leg hovering, touch the back of the wrist and release. Okay. If you need to watch one time, it's okay. If this feels impossible, it's totally normal. No breakthrough happened from something that was already possible. Let's remember that. Watch me one time, okay? Now, it's important that your thigh tries to come as close to the chest as possible. Okay, so thigh as close to the chest as possible. You see that? It's already right there. That's actually a really excellent drill, just holding it right there if you can't come forward. But then the same actions. Lean and round the back is what's going to get the foot closer. It's easier with momentum, so excuse me. And you can actually see on this side, if you just want to watch me for a second, this side, my left hip flexors are far weaker than my right. And so what you're going to see is that this heel is not so far off the ground, whereas the right one is way off the ground. So I recognize that my blind spot, my awareness of my left side is not as strong. Awareness and strength are not as strong on the left side. So I really want to focus on building my left side. Personally, that's my blind spot. That's where I have room for an awakening. So just see which side feels harder to you. And again, if you can't come all the way forward, just see how far you can come forward with keeping the leg off the ground, okay? How far can you come forward without touching the ground? And that's going to be helpful. All right. Once you've done both sides, step to down dog. Take a full breath in. Now, all you're going to do on the jump forward is thinking about doing that on both legs. So lift the heels up, inhale, look forward. Try to bring both feet to the backs of your wrist as you exhale, hop, pull. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale and bow. To the sunrise, Urdhva Hastasana. To the hard exhale. All right, bend your knees, come into chair pose. Pause here. Let's get TFL active again. Push the heels out. So TFL, one more time, is a hip flexor and an abductor. It pushes the legs apart. So as you push the heels out and stay in anterior tilt, that's going to be really about the TFL. If you think about turning your thighs inward a little bit, just think about that action that will further activate TFL. Okay, so
think about the rotation of the thighs going inward. Don't move the knees, just think about it. Try to actively turn in without moving your knees. Sit low. Now, keeping this, lift the heart up and take the arms up. Sit back a little bit, so pelvis back. Let's do 3 more breaths, waking the back muscles, the buttock muscles here, hopefully. Exhale, bow. Halfway lift, inhale. Step or hop, Chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or upward dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward as you exhale. High lunge, rise. Open up, warrior 2. Reverse warrior, inhale. Exhale, side angle. Now, I'm going to suggest find your block. If you don't have one, put your hand on something strong and stable. Place it outside of the foot. And again, like we did earlier, turn the back toes in, straighten through the front leg. Your block, firmly place your hand on it and push into it. We're going to find our psoas, one of those hip flexors, by flexing the foot. Okay, that's the start. And then literally from your psoas, here's how it's going to work. Round the upper side of your back. So in other words, side bend by pushing your obliques are going to pull you back and push down into your hand. Now it's going to help to activate your psoas as you lift your leg up off the ground, and you laugh if it doesn't happen. And you say, oh, there's a blind spot, okay? You try it again. Now, I teach this in teacher trainings, and the majority of people, I would say 99.9% that ever try it for the first time, never get their foot off the ground. So I'm showing you now, it may not be possible. It may not happen today. It may not happen next year for that matter. But if you think about it and you start trying it, and you use it as kind of a marker, eventually your body starts to understand how to activate the muscles in that way. Those are your hip flexors, okay? Come on out, step back. You can switch the block to the other side because we're going to do it in a second. Step back, downward facing dog. Let's hold here for a full breath in and out. All right, left leg to the sky. And step forward. High lunge, rise. Open up, warrior 2. Reverse warrior. Exhale, side angle. Take your hand to the block. Turn your back toes in, other hand to the hip. All right, let's see if we can focus on it. Remember, the breakthroughs don't happen from, breakthrough literally can't happen if you've already broken through it. So we're seeking, actively finding the challenge spots in our body, the blind spots. Flex the front foot, and it helps to bring the block behind the heel. I'll tell you that much, okay? So we're actively seeking the things that we find challenging, okay? And then working towards them, not shying away just because we're not good at them or we're not perfect at it yet or whatever it might be for us, but actually working towards the challenges. Okay, so push down into your hand and see if you can activate your quads and pull your leg up. Oh, so much harder on my left side for me. Okay, so again, finding those weak spots. This brings light to the awareness, or brings awareness to the areas that we have darkness, okay? Or light to whatever, you understand. Lift the leg up again. Yeah, we just got one more. Let's try it. Push down to the block, lift the leg up, and release. All right. Step to down dog. All right, bring the knees to the ground. Cross the ankles. Sit with the legs out in front. Exciting today, huh? Just the practice you were hoping for. All right, well, we did the last practice to prepare for a forward fold. We're going to just activate the hip flexor. So lift your left leg up. And slowly
Place it back down. Lift the right leg up. And slow. Left leg. Right leg. And a lot of you are probably bending your knee and you're wondering, why is my knee bending? Why can't I keep it straight? When you bend the knee, it makes the leg a lot lighter and changes the center of gravity. So to increase the intensity, I'm asking you to keep the leg straight for a lot of these things, which will force the hip flexors to get stronger. But if it's too much, you could always just bend the knee and work like this, okay? And for many of you, that would be too easy, so you're gonna have to find some sort of middle ground. So why don't we do that exact drill right there, okay? So let's go. Left knee, bend it and pull the knee to the chest. Then try to keep the knee as close to the chest as possible and straighten the leg any degree that you can. Bend and release. Okay, other side. Bend, bring the knee close to the chest, then straighten it any degree. Bend and release. Left side, knee to chest, straighten it. Bend, left side, and release. Right side, straighten, bend, and release. Okay, now bend the knees a little bit, stick your bum back. Now the hip flexion happens in the opposite direction. So what we need to learn is how to use these hip flexors to pull the pelvis forward for Paschimottanasana. So think about pulling your thigh bones. Here's what I suggest. Try to suck your thigh bone back into the hip socket so one leg gets shorter. Then do the other one. Pull it back into the hip socket. Then keep going like this. Pull the hips back into the hip sockets, and hopefully that will get your hip flexors active. If not, then try to lift your legs up off the ground one at a time and see if you can get the hip flexors active there. It's very hard. Bow forward, Paschimottanasana. Round the spine. Tuck the chin towards the chest, and let the back of the body stretch. We'll do 4 more breaths. Keep the breath active so you don't start falling asleep. We're not there yet. One more. Coming on up. All right. Boat pose, your favorite one. Pull both knees to the chest. Try to get them as tight as you can. And then one leg at a time, straighten it up. Bend. Other one, straighten it up. Try to keep it as tight as you can. Bend. Straighten. Tight as you can. Bend. Straighten. Tight as you can. And release. Okay, hopefully that gets your hip flexors active, maybe your rectus femoris. If the center of your quads activate, that's your rectus femoris. It's a hip flexor, and it also it straightens the knee because it's a quadricep, okay? So it does both, and that's why it starts to cramp, because it's overworking. 2 things you can do if that happens is turn your legs in more or squeeze your legs in more. Those 2 things will help you out. Turning your legs in more, activate TFL, supporting you. Squeeze your legs in will help you activate pectineus. So those muscles will recruit to support so that the rectus femoris isn't the only one working. All right, let's do it again. This time, your hands will come off the ground in a second. So first, bend the knees to the chest. Reach the arms forward, one leg at a time, left leg straight up. Keep the thigh as tight as the chest as you can. It's okay if your back's a little rounded for this one. Other side. Keep the thigh as tight as the chest as you can. Other side. Other side. One more each side. And release. Okay. So now let me see, are we ready for this? Anything else we need to? No. Okay. So our final pose is a variation of boat pose that is fairly challenging. I'll show it to you first. It's using the hip flexors. So you hold onto your feet and you bring your legs as tight as you can. Eventually, your hands release and you're able to keep your thighs in face, shins in face. So it's Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. You're still seated, I guess, but you don't have the benefit of gravity to, here, gravity weighs you down. Here, your hands are supporting. Finding the balance might be see, it's very hard. Lifelong journey. And then eventually, woo, daddy. Okay, so you want to at least get to a point where you let go. Your back is rounded for this position. Your tailbone is tucked, so you're not in a traditional boat like this, because you'll only get up, a very small amount if you do that. So everyone start this way. Bring your knees to your chest. Stage 1 of this pose is this, okay? So get into a little ball and learn to balance on your buttocks, tuck your tail, and round your spine. Stage 2 of this pose, you can actually hold behind the hamstrings and work the legs up to the degree that you can get to. And then with bent knees, at this point, you can try to let go, but keep your thighs close to your chest. Option to grab the feet to bring the legs all the way up. And then try to keep the legs where they are as you reach your hands past your legs. Oh, Lordy. Okay, and release. Oh, how uneventful and unexciting that posture can be. But really, it's a good marker for your ability to keep your hip flexors active and still balance. And, proprioception-wise, it's a hard one to balance on the pelvis. We don't really spend a lot of time cultivating body awareness on our pelvis, and that's part of it. So there's a little fun exercise for you. So let's just reverse it for a second. Push the heels down, lift the hips up, open up. And release. All right, let's stretch these wonderful hip flexors that we've been working hard on. Take your left foot outside of your left hand, back knee down, and move the knee back. That will increase the stretch of the hip flexors. Okay, right hand over to the right. If you've never done this with me, I'll just turn so you can see what it looks like. It's called Twisted Monkey. Now, the thing with Twisted Monkey, when you grab the back foot, is the gravity is going to push you down towards the ground. So what I suggest is activating your hip flexors by pulling your back knee towards the front knee until your hips lift a little bit, then pull the back knee in towards the chest, in towards the buttocks. I'll show you from the side again. So you go, whoop, then you pull the knee in, keeping the hips up a little bit so you're not letting gravity press into the hip joint. Now, you never sink all the way down because that's going to bring flexibility into the joints. You don't want joint flexibility. You want muscular flexibility. Okay, joint flexibility causes all sorts of problems. The difference is joints are basically you have something called ligaments, which are non-elastic fibers that hold the bones in the sockets so that they don't fall outward if you make a mistake. Muscles have elasticity to them. They contract and they release. And the muscles are what you want to stretch. The tendons you don't want to stretch. You want to keep them integral. Okay. Ligaments is what I meant to say. You don't want to stretch ligaments, not tendons. Okay, and then release. Ligaments are what hold the bones in the socket. Switch sides. Tendons attach muscle to bone. Ligaments are bone to bone, and they're what keep your joints in place. So we don't want to stretch ligaments. That increases flexibility at the joints. We don't want increased flexibility at our joints. We want increased flexibility of our muscles, which allow us to increase the range of motion of the joints, which is different than flexibility of the joint itself. Okay, pull the back knee towards the front knee so your hips lift up a little bit and bend the back knee. So for me, I'm just going to talk from my perspective so you understand. My left hip flexors are a lot weaker. And so because of that, and because I've spent a lot of time
in my earlier part of my career, I would say thinking flexibility was, the goal. I overstretched the ligaments at the front of my left hip joint. And so in postures, if I don't activate my hip flexors on my left side, then what happens is the femur head presses to the front of the hip socket, causes all sorts of discomfort, but also it disables me from being able to access the muscles properly because the neurological connections get all messed up. So what I need to do before I even get into that flexibility, before I get into the flexibility of the hip joint, I want to make sure my muscles are active, and that allows me to go into the flexibility of the musculature without getting into the joint, without just deteriorating my joint. So I'm speaking from experience when I talk about this. You don't want to stretch your ligaments. You want to stretch your muscles. Okay, and then release. And the way you do that is by making sure your muscles are active through range of motion so that you don't overstretch and you don't go beyond the limits. All right, so now please come into down dog. I'd like you to take a few breaths here and acknowledge your hips, acknowledge your hip joints from all the effort you've put in. Come forward to plank pose, inhale. Lower all the way to the ground and come onto your back. You can use your hands now to pull your knees to your chest. Or take happy baby if you'd like. And as you're ready, you can release into Shavasana. If I haven't mentioned it before in this immersion, if there is variations of Shavasana that serve you better, using bolsters or changing the variation of where your legs or your arms are, it's always welcomed. Check in sensationally with your body to see if your body is appreciating what you offer. Take a full breath in. Exhale it out. And start to let your breath settle back. Begin releasing the sound of Ujjayi. Let's bring your breath back to your awareness. Awaken fingers and toes. Stretch your arms overhead. Roll to your side, come up to a seated position. Place your hands at your heart. Acknowledge the part of you that is willing to look to the concealment, the parts of our mind and body that are in the shadow that are not quite, that we are not aware yet of. This takes courage and the willingness to be vulnerable with ourselves, to see where we have not perfected, we have not awakened, and to shed light in these areas. And the result of that courage to look at this in our mind and our body, our behaviors, our actions, the result of looking for this can be the revelation, the breakthrough. But revelation and breakthrough can't happen without the mindset, the willingness to look at the areas of ourselves that we are not awake with yet. Nothing can be revealed if we're not willing to look at it. So thank you all so very much for stepping in today. Thank you for your practice, for your courage. Hopefully you found some awakening of these tends to be asleep muscles, hip flexors. Lots of love to you all. Namaste. All right, everybody. Thank you so very much. Have a beautiful afternoon and enjoy the rest of this day. Take care.